Now remember, Steven Seagal is kind of playing the bad guy here, so I think he just pulled from his own life. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff Porter from Cinema Reactor. Today, I decided to dive back into the Steven Seagal films. So there's one that I've been looking at off and on called Perfect Weapon. Not Jeff Speakman, The Perfect Weapon. Not this glorious, awesome fucking movie. Jeff Speakman should have been an action god. Just not fair that he's not as popular as he should be. The Perfect Weapon is a fucking masterpiece. We're talking about 2016, The Perfect Weapon, with Steven Seagal. In the not-so-distant future, society is controlled by the powerful state and a dictator known as the Director. Condor works as a hitman for the state, but a reunion with someone he thought was dead forces him to consider who his enemies really are. Now, I'm going to be completely honest before we get into this. I kind of enjoyed this fucking movie. This movie was not as bad as I thought it would be. And I think a big reason for that is Steven Seagal not in the movie. He's in it for maybe, and I'm being generous here, maybe 15 minutes. He kind of appears off and on in like these ads that appear like on televisions around the city. But other than that, like he's just kind of comes in at the end. And that's about it. Really, the movie centers around Johnny Messner. This guy you probably recognize. Like, he's in a lot of really good movies. Tears of the Sun comes to mind. Just about every Bruce Willis movie, it seems like they're very frequent collaborators. He kind of kills it. This is like a dystopian hitman film. And I mean Hitman like the video game, because Johnny Messner heavily resembles Hitman in this movie. All he needs is a barcode. And even like a legend, Vernon Wells, comes in and he's in the film. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's this guy.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
So the film's set in like this dystopian future, and honestly, like a lot of the lighting and a lot of the colors and everything like really make it pop. It's actually kind of an interesting film to look at. There's a lot of purples, pinks, blues, and they really play with the lighting. Like, it looks pretty decent, and I think a big reason is a lot of the other Steven Seagal films that we've watched, they're from his own production companies like Steamroller, and they just completely drop the ball on all their production. But this one was made by a different production company, and like you can actually tell. So Steven Seagal doesn't even come into the film until like 20 minutes in, and even then, like, it's not even for that long. So Condor is a hitman for the state. The state has kind of like assumed control over everybody. If you don't listen to what the state does, you're in trouble. There's no freedom. They actually show kind of like a cool little production thing where he opens the fridge and everything's just generic white labels, beer, pickle, shit like that. And it's funny because it's supposed to be like that because it's this dystopian future and like the state controls everything, and so they just put out a bunch of horse. There's no market competition. What's funny is when we go back to one of the other films, I think it was A Dangerous Man, like I pointed out just the horrible production and the bottle of whiskey that he buys and how it's just a plain label. By the way, not a dystopian future in that film. That was like his best attempt at creating like his own brand of whiskey for the movie, and it completely fails. But this actually kind of makes sense. So it's kind of funny how that played off of each other. So Condor is the perfect weapon. He's a hitman for the state. They send him out to basically take care of politicians who are starting to fight back against the state. He goes to assassinate one of them, and there's a woman who he doesn't kill because he has these like flashbacks. I get like another woman that he used to love. However, we find out that this is where the Seagal part kind of comes in. There's a lot of crisscross throughout this entire movie, where like at the core, it's just a kind of a fun, like, the dictator guy needs to be taken out. We've got this hitman, go kill the bad guy. Like, we've talked about this before, like, just go kill the bad guy. But of course, at the end, they kind of convolute it and make things really difficult. So after he kills that politician, he doesn't kill that woman. And so they bring him in to be questioned by the director. Like, why didn't you kill them? You're not supposed to leave witnesses. So he goes to be reprogrammed. They stick him in this place alone. Of course, he breaks out. And who does he find? None other than the woman that he sees in his head. She claims that they actually killed a body double and that she's actually been in this prison for the last 2 years doing God knows what. Ma'am, This is a men's room. I will point out, like, I say that I like this movie compared to Steven Seagal films. I'm not saying this is a great movie by any means. And here's an example of just how crazy this shit gets. Look at this fucking cartwheel. Mind you, she is dodging bullets at the same time. Now Condor has broken out. He has his girlfriend with him. Now what's the best thing to do? Where should they go? Oh, back to his house. Great thinking, Condor. Then we get the obligatory sex scene between them, but I don't even think they get to do it because they're at their house. Who would not think to come look for them there? So they are recaptured, and then this is where Vernon Wells comes in. He shows up, and he starts torturing Condor. He pulls out a fucking toenail, he pulls out his tooth, and it's actually like pretty intense. Like there's some crazy stuff going on in this scene. But then the controller, the guy who like gives Condor missions, comes in, and it's another, little crisscross. Even though he's working for the state, he actually wants to take down the director, and so he saves Condor because he's the perfect weapon. He can do it. So they save them, and then we get another obligatory sex scene because sex. So now they have a once a year window, just happens to be the perfect timing where Condor can sneak into the director's compound because everybody's out for a parade or something. I don't know. But he's going to need a lot of help getting in there, right? I mean, it's a compound. There's going to be a lot of guards. There's going to be a lot of people there. Don't worry, though. They have them equipped with the highest tech. Remember, this is the future. They've got state-of-the-art weapons. They've got state-of-the-art technology. They got screens on everything. Your mirror can become a fucking screen. So they hook them up with dirt bike armor. What is with dirt bike armor? There are so many B action films that incorporate this fucking dirt bike armor, and I do not get it. You can get it on Wish for like $50. It just has like the plastic. It's supposed to absorb if you fall off. I get it, but what the fuck? It's not cool looking. Why do we keep doing this? Now that the perfect weapon is fully equipped with the latest and greatest, it's time to make the assault on Steven Seagal. So he's ready to go. Meanwhile, Steven Seagal's inside with his woman, teaching her how to massage. Now remember, Steven Seagal's kind of playing the bad guy here. So I think he just pulled from his own life. So at the end, we finally see the perfect weapon. Johnny Metzner going in to take on Steven Seagal for a fight that lasts about, I don't know, a minute, maybe a minute. And really a lot of it is just Steven Seagal throwing him around because can't beat Steven Seagal, even when he's the bad guy. I don't get it. But this is where we get another crisscross. We find out that the woman is actually, like, she was implanted into Condor's mind to break him, I guess. And that the woman that he's actually seeing now is the woman that he didn't kill at the beginning of the movie. But then she crisscrosses against the controller guy who crisscrossed Steven Seagal. But now Steven Seagal, Condor actually ends up killing Steven Seagal, but it's not Steven Seagal. See, this is what I mean. Like, it's still fucking stupid. Like, the real Steven Seagal comes in, and he's like, "Thanks, brother. Yeah, I mean, you had my back, and now you're gonna die with pride and honor." And then it was a body double the whole time. I don't know if it's a clone or if it's like his actual if they're twins or something. It's never explained. I like the idea of a clone, but that would be fucking too much for a Seagal movie. So the ending basically sets it up for a sequel because Seagal ends up getting away and he takes a bunch of his guards with dirt bike armor on and they escape through the Batwing. Meanwhile, Condor goes back and kills the girl, and now he's like gonna do his own thing. Guys, I swear, like, there are parts of this movie though that are like actually pretty solid. Like I said, like a lot of the sets and the lighting, it like really gives off that cool dystopian vibe. Johnny Messner like fucking kicks ass in this movie. He does have that hitman look. It's hard not to tie those two together, but there's some scenes in here where he kicks some ass. The only thing that would have made this better is if if this was a sequel and Jeff Speakman was frozen and sent out in the future in this dystopian world to take care of business. On the real though, Jeff Speakman. If you haven't seen Perfect Weapon, Jeff Speakman, go watch that because that's a great film. At the end of the day, I would probably recommend this movie. I see it all the time on like Tubi and stuff. And honestly, it's kind of solid. Like, there's a lot of good parts in here. And Seagal's not in it for like most of it. So that's kind of another plus, right? Honestly, go check it out. I would recommend it. I know a lot of the movies we just mock relentlessly and they're so bad. I don't know what I'm getting before I go into a movie. I thought this would be another Seagal movie I could mock relentlessly, but honestly, I kind of dug it. All right, guys, remember to like and subscribe. I will see you guys on Friday.